Behind every success story, there is a long line of triumphs and defeats that remain hidden from others. These stories get condensed into journeys that minimize the struggle and wrap up with a happy ending. But we know that's not how life works. That's where From the Ashes with Mark Azoulay comes in. On today's show, you'll hear honest conversations about the challenges that Mark's guest faced and how they overcame adversity. Now, here is your host, Mark Azoulay.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Mark Azoulay, and I'm here with Christine Malek. She is a women's empowerment coach from Knoxville, Tennessee, that's developed a program called SASSI that helps women to recover from abusive relationships, from gaslighting, from being in toxic narcissistic relationships, and from really just reclaiming their power. Christine, I'm really happy to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so, this show we start with a personal story, and with what you do, I'm sure there's quite a personal story there. So I don't want to, deprive our listeners any longer. What's your From the Ashes story? What got you into doing this work and developing SASSI?
The day I was shot in the head, that was my defining moment. And that happened back in 2015. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that a little before the show. There's a lot there. I'm really happy that you survived. I've heard that those are pretty fatal most of the time. So yeah, tell us what led up to that? What happened? What's that story?
So I had been married to this man for 4 years by that point. The abuse was always, we say abuse and we automatically presume physical. And yes, there was definitely physical abuse. Bruises all over my body, black and blue eyes. He beat me with a rubber mallet so bad that he broke my wrist, cracked 3 of my ribs. No medical attention was ever sought from any of this abuse. Okay? But the abuse is not just physical. It is the verbal, the mental, the spiritual, the psychological, the sexual. I endured everything. You name it, gaslighting, the narcissist. Oh, he was a true narcissistic psychopath. And I usually add the letters SOB. He was a true son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Still is as far as I know, but so because of all the abuse that women endure, we turn to drugs and alcohol. And I can proudly tell you that I am 6.5 years sober and clean.
Nice.
But at that point, I wasn't, because we needed to numb the pain, not just the physical pain, but all the other mental health pain that we go through. So we had been drinking. It was in the evening, and no matter what I did, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners can relate to this, everything was always my fault. He had a bad day at work, my fault. Truck couldn't start, my fault. He stubbed his toe, my fault. I mean, from the major things to the little, everything was always my fault. Somehow we got into an argument at this point after living with him for 4 years and dealing with all these abuses. I wasn't me anymore. I was not the sassy woman that you see today. And I immediately broke down, started crying. And anybody who's in that situation knows you do not cry. You do not show any emotion in front of a narcissistic, abusive son of a bitch. I got up. I went into the bathroom. I made the mistake of closing and locking the bedroom door. Through the bedroom and then into the bathroom, the master bathroom. Excuse me. I sat on the toilet lid backwards. And I had my arms crossed and my head was down, and I was trying real hard just to keep the sobbing and the crying and the emotions that I was feeling as low as possible. Mm. As I stated, we had both been drinking. We were probably a good, a quarter way into a huge bottle of El Jimador. That was his thing. Tequila, for those that don't know. Straight, out of a shot glass. I mean, we didn't mix it. That's how bad of an alcoholic we both were.
Yeah.
So I'm crying, I'm sobbing. And at that point, I don't even know why. I couldn't even tell you what the argument was. I know I was just sitting and I can visualize it. I know I was there. That part I remember. Sitting on the toilet, crying and sobbing. And I heard him come down the hall. And of course, he tried to open the door and it was locked. The bedroom. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Why did I lock the door? Yelling, cussing, screaming. Hear him going back through the house, into the garage, slams the door, and of course, slams are triggers. Any door slam was a huge trigger. I mean, my body immediately goes into defensive mode, reaction, chemicals start flowing through my body. But I cannot stop sobbing, and I'm trying so hard to stop. He comes back, I hear the garage door slam again, and the next thing I hear is basically he took a sledgehammer, a huge sledgehammer, and splintered the door.
Just busted it down.
Busted it right down.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I did hear it drop, the sledgehammer. Of course, the door was shattered. I think maybe 2 of the hinges stayed on, but the rest of the door was gone. I heard the sledgehammer drop, so I knew, thank God, I wasn't beat with the sledgehammer. And he went over to the nightstand, and I heard the cock of the gun. And at that point, I wanted to die. I was begging for suicide, for death, for just kill me, get it over and done with at that point, because I had reached my limit. And of course, he's yelling and screaming and calling me every name possible. You stupid bitch. That is like every woman in his life is a stupid bitch. It could have been, a Nobel Prize winner, and she would still be considered a stupid bitch. As he came into the bathroom, and I'm still sitting on the toilet backwards, and I get smacked upside the head with the gun. And he's yelling and screaming. Something in me just finally broke. Switched. And I turned to him and I lost it. And when you're in years of abuse, you take it and you take it and you take it and take it because of everything that woman goes through and what she feels and the self-doubt and the self-hate and the self-loathing and we're never good enough and all those things that he made us believe. Talk about a Stockholm syndrome. All those things that he made us believe. And I lost it and I said, just pull the fucking trigger. Pull the fucking trigger. You ain't got balls big enough to pull the fucking trigger. Fucking end my life right now. Pull the fucking trigger. Do it. And I just screamed and yelled. I wanted so bad for life to end because it was miserable. It was not the person that I had been for 40 some years. I thought I was better. This is my second marriage. How could I? And I mean, everything just bubbled up. And he pulled the trigger.
He did it.
As the gun was resting on my head, he pulled the trigger. That immediate, because it was right there. Go deaf. I could smell burning flesh. I could smell the singed hair. I lost it was a 40 caliber gun. This was not a little gun.
Oh.
40 caliber.
Yeah.
Not a small little 22.
Yeah.
And I sat there. I could tell that he was screaming and yelling and cursing. And I'm sure somewhere in there were the words, "Look at what you made me do." And I sat there and I, smelling the smell, hearing the deafness resonating in my ears. And 2 thoughts went through my head. And the first one was, fuck, I'm not dead. Disappointment. I really wanted to die. I really wanted to die. At that point, there was no reason to live anymore. Life sucked. I had, by that point in my life, I had already attempted suicide at least a half a dozen times in my life from childhood trauma, plus several times with this man. And the second thought that went through my head was, fuck, I'm alive. Kind of a little bit of gratitude. Did I really want to die? Did I not want to die? And I sat there, and of course, he's still cussing, screaming, and yelling, and pacing in and out of the room. I think I got smacked upside the head again with the gun. I could feel the blood coming down the side of my head. And I just sat there. It was complete numbness, nothingness. There was nothing there except those two thoughts. And then they were gone. And he got to a point where he put the gun back, stormed out of the room, still cussing, screaming, yelling at me. I still couldn't make out anything. I was still deaf from the shot. And I just sat there. And like I said, there was nothing going through my head, nothing going through my brain, no thoughts. The next thoughts formed. And it was probably a good 3 to 5 minutes that I just sat there. And I didn't move. And I looked over at the nightstand where he put the gun, and 2 more thoughts came to mind. I could pull the gun, do it myself, do it the right way, finally get out of this shithole of a place, even though it was my house, and I had 3 beautiful children. I had a granddaughter at that time. None of that was worth living anymore because of the hell that I kept going through with this man. Or I could pull the gun on him.
Right. You could turn the tables.
Yeah. Justifiable homicide?
Yeah.
Would it be? I don't know. You know? And I sat there for a very long time. The blood, and I had really long hair. And the blood just flowed till finally it stopped. And that was probably my point where, like I said, it flipped. There was something in me. I didn't even question how am I still alive? It didn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
It still didn't matter. Today I know why. But I remember getting up the next day. He probably came in and, brought a shot of, I was grateful for the shot of tequila at that point. It's like, great. May I have another one, please? The begging that we always have to do as women of abuse. I sat there for a very long time, never showered, never cleaned up. He yelled at me to get up, get yourself cleaned up. I got up and I went into the spare bedroom, and I slept till the next morning. And that next morning, again, I never sought medical attention. I had no idea how bad the wound was. And the next morning was my defining, that day, but realizing it the next morning that was my defining moment. I had to do something. I cannot tell you, Mark, how many times throughout my whole life that I have said what I thought was God, because I stopped believing in the Roman Catholic God a long time ago. But I would say, put me in the ground or put me in the hospital. And that next morning, I basically said the same thing, this is no life. This is no way to live. Something's got to change. Something's got to give. What do I do? Where do I go from here? How do I fix it? But I still, and of course the next morning was like nothing ever happened. It was, he got up to go to work, what he called work. I got up, showered, and I'm looking at my head as much as I could see in the mirror, going, how do I cover this huge hole?
Yeah, it's crazy.
What do I do? I gotta go. I gotta go to work. But whether it's a black eye or a hole in your head,
bullet hole, you gotta just cover it up. God.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was my defining moment. Only I didn't know it back then, and I went through. Like I said, that was in 2015, and I went through so much more shit till 2008. It was hell. It was definitely going through hell and back and through the ashes that, surviving. And what I like to call sort of thriving. That's one of the words that I use, because as women of abuse, we don't just survive. Surviving is what we did while we are in that situation. But when we can finally get out, then it's not just surviving, it's thriving. And that's what we do.
Yeah, that's a hell of a story. That is a hell of a story. And again, I said before, but I'm grateful that you made it, that you are alive through that. And just like the depth of the, I don't know if depravity is the right word, but just maybe desperation or that real rock bottom moment, it's just, it makes my jaw drop. You know, I'm also in recovery. I've been sober for about 10 years. So I have, you know, some version of a rock bottom moment, but that's a hell of a rock bottom to really like see that, and to be stuck in their relationship. And, you know, when we get to the discussion segment, I would love to talk more about the Stockholm syndrome that you brought up, because I think for me as a psychotherapist, for me as, you know, I think kind of a nice guy most of the time, you know, having female friends, it's always tough to see women stuck in relationships where it's like, get out, right? I mean, like it seems so clear, and yet I know it's not. You're right. I know that it's a real trap to stay in, and it speaks volumes that you didn't see. And again, I might put words in your mouth, so please correct me, but it sounds like you didn't see getting out as an option, as breaking up or leaving. Your options were death, right? To kill yourself, or in that moment, even to kill him. Right, rather than to walk away. And that is frightening and interesting, I think, to talk about. Yes.
Yeah, it's not easy. It is not easy.
No. Yeah.
It's, and I get asked that all the time, and I try and provide, because I know I was there. How do I get out? This is my house. The mortgage is in my name.
Yeah.
How do I get out? You know, how do I can't physically force him to leave. You know, it's tough. It is tough. And that is one of the things that I help women through, basically 3 stages of abuse. The first one is you are in it. You are in the depth of it, just like I was. You're in such a vision of just surviving. As I stated, that's all you want to do is get through one day at a time.
Yeah, well, so we're going to move to our first commercial break. When we come back, I'd love to hear about those 3 stages. I'd love to hear about the SASSI acronym and kind of what that stands for, and how you can really reach a woman that's in that place and how you can help her recover. So for those listening, we still have a lot to go in the episode. Stay tuned, and we'll see you on the other side of the commercial break.
Become our friend on Facebook. Post your thoughts about our shows and network on our timeline. Visit facebook.com/Voice America.
In Mark's work with high performers and business owners, it is becoming increasingly clear to him that their biggest obstacle to success is themselves. They are experts in their field, but are dragged down by their anxiety, poor time management, inability to focus, or self-sabotage. His role is to help you overcome these emotional and organizational issues so that you can truly excel in your business and your personal life. One of the most common hurdles that he sees is perfectionism, a crippling anxiety around performance. It's a fear of not being good enough, being publicly embarrassed, or of disappointing others. These fears paralyze brilliant people and bring them to their knees. This course will help you to break free from this mental prison and have more agency in your world. In this online course, we will break down the prison of perfectionism so that you can break out of it. For more information and to sign up, visit mark-azulay.teachable.com. That's Mark, MARC-azulay, AZOULAY.teachable.com.
Where can you listen to some of the world's top life coaches ready to dish out success tips and entrepreneurial guidance? The Voice America Empowerment Channel will do just that. Whether it's personal growth, building a better business, or inspirational life stories, make it a daily habit to tune into our programs. From weight loss and personal branding to law of attraction and increased happiness, you'll find it every day at VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com. The Voice America Empowerment Channel. It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed.
Our thoughts and feelings not only affect our own lives, but the lives of everyone around us. Find new meanings of love, authentic expressions, and better connections with the people in your life. Tune in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. This program will feature guests and discuss ideas that will bring a better life to you. When you find this perspective on love, it will change everything. Listen live every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time and 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You are listening to From the Ashes with Mark Azoulay. To reach the show today, please call 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. Or send an email to podcast@mark-azoulay.com. Now, back to From the Ashes.
Welcome back to the show. I'm sitting here with Christine Malek, and we're just hearing this incredible story of surviving a point-blank gunshot wound. And we were talking a little over the break about really the many times you've had a near-death experience, and just kind of divine intervention, almost miracle quality. And I just, I said it in the break, I just want to say it for listeners, like, I'm really happy that you've survived and that you're out there kind of doing your life work and helping other women that have been in a similar situation.
Yes.
It
is my life. It is my life work. It's my purpose, my passion. I would not have survived everything that I did from the day I was born to 2018 is when I ended. I basically kicked his ass out and said, I'm done. I had gone through, 4 surgeries, 15 procedures, died on the operating table twice, even after the gunshot wound, and finally had enough courage and SASSI, and I know we're going to get to it, to finally say enough is enough. And I then discovered that this is my passion. This is my purpose. This is my calling. This is what I have to do. I mean, if I don't, my guides come in and my angels come in and they do a hard tap on the shoulder to me.
Yeah, and they say, hey, you're on this planet for a purpose, right? Like, get to it.
Exactly.
So let's talk about those 3 stages of abuse that you've laid out. You talked about the first stage towards the end of that first segment, which you talked about it being just survival, right? And there's that Stockholm syndrome component. There's this idea of feeling trapped. There's, I think what I've seen in some of my female clients that are in this situation, there's like excuse making for the guy, right? Like kind of over compassion, right? Like a lot of too much empathy, right? Of like, oh, you had a bad day at work. It's like, yeah, but, does it really warrant him beating you, right? And unfortunately, I imagine many women are stuck at that first stage, right? But can you say a little bit more about that first stage and how you might contact somebody who's there?
Yes. The biggest thing that's coming out right now, Mark, is that remember that we love this man. Okay, we love him. There's good positive feelings there. Not every day is an abusive day. The abuse, whether it's the physical and everything else, or one or the other, it doesn't matter. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's not like it's today was a great day, and all of a sudden tomorrow, before you know it, you're for no reason whatsoever, you're getting punched in the eye. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen that way. That abuse happens over time in a very slow rise that can start with, those little gaslighting things, little, why isn't dinner ready? But it's said with a tone. It's said with a look. Mm-hmm. Okay, as the wife or the spouse or the partner in that relationship, we make excuses. We're mothers. Okay, we're at least we're women. We're nurturing, so. It doesn't start out, like I said, all of a sudden. It's a gradual, very slow climb till it reaches that point where it really starts to go up. And the next thing you know, then all of a sudden, but now that's time. That's weeks, months, and in some cases, years of that abuse just going along, climbing little by little. Okay, it could be, I want sex tonight. Well, honey, I'm not in the mood. I don't care. Get your ass on that fucking bed right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, I love you. Maybe I should. What's the big deal? So we lowered that boundary. We lowered that threshold for him. That narcissistic, abusive personality will pick up on that and go, oh, well, if she did that for me on this one, then I can get away with this. Mm-hmm. I always say that I was just as much at fault in this relationship as he was. Okay? I saw the signs. I didn't recognize them. I did not listen to my intuition. I did not follow through. I mean, I should have kicked his ass out even after the gunshot wound, okay? Being beaten with the rubber mallet a year before, with my wrist broken and 3 cracked ribs. That should have been enough for me to say enough is enough. But, we don't. So, yes, back to your question, the 3 stages of abuse. Stage 1 is strictly survival. I say we don't walk on eggshells, we walk on broken glass. And it is that gradual slide till it gets to a point where now what? It's, when you come up that scale and you're at, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 on that scale, what do? Now you're in strictly survival mode. That's all you want to do is get through one day. Can we please, in that woman's mind, you go, please let him be in a good mood. Please don't let anybody cut him off. Please let me have dinner perfect. Let the house be perfect. Please don't let the dogs bark. Please don't let the dogs jump up on him. All those little things that a healthy relationship you can deal with, you can work with. But an abusive one with a narcissistic son of a bitch, all those things are out the window. Mm-hmm. Every little thing. So that first stage is strictly survival. All you want to do is get through that day. Stage 2, what I've discovered is you're out. You've left the situation. You're out. You're living alone. The kids are okay if there's children involved. You're now a little bit more than just surviving. If you're holding down a job, for a lot of women that are women of abuse, they weren't allowed to have a job. They had to stay home. They had the abusive spouse had control over the finances. So you're out and you're just living, okay? You're not living your best life, and you get to a point where, and a lot of women don't realize that they ask this question, but they get to a point where they go, who am I? Because we lost that. We talked about that, and I know you want to talk more about the Stockholm syndrome. We lost. Mm-hmm. Who are we? Yeah. Who am I really? Who is this person inside of me because of everything that we had been through those years? That we go, where do I go from here? What do I do? I am really just, I get up, eat breakfast, I go to work, come home, I go to bed. That really is our only thing. And we don't know how to deal with all those things that come with now being on our own, because we were told we can't do it. We can't leave them. You can't survive on your own. You need me. You can't make it without me. You can't hold down a job. You're too unstable. Your mental health stuff. Everything that we were told throughout that relationship. We may be out and we're doing okay. We're just getting by. So that's stage 2. Mm-hmm. That's where I come in. And that's where my coaching comes in. That's where that woman can now, okay, so that's where her SASSI gets discovered. And
she can try to rebuild a life and rediscover herself.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. So that's where my SASSI comes in. That's where my coaching comes in. And of course, stage 3, the final stage, is basically unfuckwithable. Okay? We are total SASSI at this point. Yeah, we can say, screw you, I don't need you, I can survive on my own, and now I'm a thriver. Mm-hmm. Those are the 3 steps. As far as what I've discovered.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, so let break down SASSI for us. What does the acronym stand for? Right? How do you empower or inspire a woman who is in that shutdown Stockholm syndrome? Like you said, no sense of self, completely gaslit, probably has some really negative views about themselves. Like I said, thinking that they're mentally ill or that they're not capable or et cetera, that they're worthless. How do you move somebody from that to being a SASSI woman?
It's not easy. It's
No,
crazy.
it can't
It
be.
takes,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
SASSI stands for strong, assertive, smart, sexy, independent. Every guy out there, you can see the social media, every guy out there says that he wants a strong, independent woman until he really gets a true sassy woman. Okay? Because we're not just strong and independent. We're strong, assertive, smart, sexy, and independent. That is the very essence of every woman on this planet. Every woman has that sassy within them. They just don't know it. They don't know what to refer to, how to refer to it, or what to call it. But it's your intuition, it's your soul, it's your being. It's I say that it's your do have sassy, because it's be sassy, we do sassy, and we have sassy. If we give, then we get. It's their essence. It's the very part of them. Bringing it out, first off, you have to recognize that it is almost extinguished. Very tiny little fire that got extinguished from the years of abuse. That little bit of it's still kind of smoldering. So what I do is I help them find that, and it depends on the woman. Okay, what brings her passion? What brings her excitement? So let's go there. I mean, every woman's a little different. It could be anything. I have a client now that her did not realize that her true sassy lies within her music and her art. And it wasn't till, conversations, being in the field, that those conversations bring out, and if that woman is willing to be totally honest, and we just have conversations, we just talk. But it took me, honestly, it took me about 8 months till I could work through every single red flag, triggers. It was back in, I think, October, when I realized that I still had one trigger left, and I didn't even realize it was a trigger. So minute and so off the chart, off the wall. It was like, really? This is a trigger? So I happened to be sitting at a stoplight, and I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee. As far as I know, he's in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I'm stopped at a stoplight, and I see a vehicle very similar to the one it was like, and that trigger happened. I recognized it because of my healing, going through and doing my work. And I went, well, wait a second. I get home, I do my breathing, I try and come down, I do some meditation. So, you know what? I wouldn't be my true sassy if I didn't work through this. And it's no longer a trigger. In fact, the other day I was driving and I saw a vehicle like his, and I went, "Chuck you, Farley." That's how you work on them, little by little. It takes dealing with a woman of abuse, especially if she's been in it years. And the thing that kills me is a woman that she may be out of that abusive situation for years, Mark. I mean, I'm talking 10, 12, 15 years, and never finds her sass, never finds her essence, never finds her worth, her reason. That's the part, because we all have one. We all have it.
Yeah, I mean, I see it happen. I mean, I see it with my male clients as well, but we'll stay focused on women on this. But with my female clients, of like just the oppression that I think women go through, or maybe they have a father that is abusive, right? And they get kind of shut down at a young age, and they never quite find the sassy. I think in my practice, I didn't know what sassy was, but I would call it like vitality or life force or something, right? Like individuality, personality, right? Something like that, your unique gift. And I just see it, unfortunately, it breaks my heart. It's just so many women that are shut down and that's cut off. And they're told these lies, right? Of like, you got to be everything for everybody. You got to, be a provider. Your value is just in what you could bring to other people. And a lot of their hopes and dreams get crushed. They don't develop hobbies or art or music or spiritual practice, right? It's just this emptiness that I see a lot of women carrying around.
Yes, it's tough. I hate seeing it too, and that's why I keep going. Somebody asked me once, what my biggest aha, not an aha, but that gave me my greatest joy in dealing with, and I do deal with men also, but mostly women. You know, it's when I can see that woman have her, oh shit moment. You know, I mean, you see it with your patients when they finally, you're just having a conversation, you're just talking, and it could be not even just a client, just somebody that I talk to through, DMs, conversations over the phone, conversations through Zoom, you know, when we're just having a conversation, and she has that moment when she goes, oh shit. I mean, I love it. That's what gives me joy.
That's the moment. Yeah. Yeah, when her eyes light up and it's like, oh shit, there is more here.
Yes.
Right? Yes. That life isn't this like grind, you know, because I think when I talk to women in that place, is obviously a generalization, but they're often depressed. They feel like life isn't worth it. Sometimes I feel like angry or cheated because they're not living life, right? They're just like living for other people, or they're just stuck in that kind of martyr caregiver thing.
Stage 2. Yeah. Stage 2. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like quiet desperation. So we're going to move to our final commercial break here. If you're enjoying the show, please share it, like it on social media, give us a 5-star review. When we come back, we're going to talk to Christine about how to contact your SASSI. If you're someone that's listening and you're like, you know what, maybe I'm in an abusive relationship, and if you are, please hear this and get out, seek help. Or maybe you're just feeling kind of gray and blah and you want more SASSI in your life. I'm sure, Christine, you have some wonderful techniques and things for people to think about to really start to get that fire burning again.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. So we'll see you on the other side of the break with some tech tips and tricks.
Follow us on Twitter at VoiceAmericaTRN. Get the lowdown on guests, new shows, and your favorites. That's VoiceAmericaTRN.
In Mark's work with high performers and business owners, it is becoming increasingly clear to him that their biggest obstacle to success is themselves. They are experts in their field, but are dragged down by their anxiety, poor time management, inability to focus, or self-sabotage. His role is to help you overcome these emotional and organizational issues so that you can truly excel in your business and your personal life. One of the most common hurdles that he sees is perfectionism, a crippling anxiety around performance. It's a fear of not being good enough, being publicly embarrassed, or of disappointing others. These fears paralyze brilliant people and bring them to their knees. This course will help you to break free from this mental prison and have more agency in your world. In this online course, we will break down the prison of perfectionism so that you can break out of it. For more information and to sign up, visit mark-azulay.teachable.com. That's Mark, MARC-Azulay, AZOULAY.teachable.com.
Voice America programs are now available on your favorite connected device, including Amazon, Alexa, and Google Home. Through streams with Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio, listening to your favorite show is as easy as saying the show name followed by the word podcast.
Hey, Alexa, play Finding Your Frequency podcast.
If that doesn't work, try adding on TuneIn or on iHeartRadio or on Apple Podcasts.
Are you ready to move to your next level? Listen for Empowering Women, Transforming Lives with host Rebecca Hall-Greider. Each show will focus on a central topic with discussion, guests, and your questions being featured. Our show is perfect for women who feel a call in their heart to step out in a bigger, more powerful way in their life and just need some encouragement, inspiration, and practical steps to support them on their journey. Empowering Women, Transforming Lives can be heard live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel, with a replay of the show Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern on the Voice America Variety Channel.
Get the news on our shows and other happenings by following us on Twitter. Find us at VoiceAmericaTRN or twitter.com/VoiceAmericaTRN.
You are listening to From the Ashes with Mark Azulay. To reach the show today, please call 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. Or send an email to podcast@mark-azoulay.com. Now, back to From the Ashes.
Welcome back to the show. In this final segment, we like to talk directly to the listeners. And like I said before the commercial break, I'll say it again. If you are in a situation of abuse, please seek help if you can. Please try to get help, because what is happening to you is not okay and is never okay under any circumstances. So I want to kick it over to Christine. Can you let the listeners know if they're trying to unlock their SASSI? Maybe they're a survivor, or maybe they're in a situation, or like I said, maybe they're just wanting more of that in their life in general, right? How would you help them to kind of open and unlock those parts of themselves?
Thank you, Mark. It depends on what stage they're in. If they're in stage 1, all I can do is offer a ton of tips, strategies, and if you want me to give a few, I certainly will, because as I stated, when you are in stage 1, you are strictly surviving. Mm-hmm. You are not ready. I can't tell you how many women have reached out and they're still in it. And especially some, oh, I know I can help, but till we get you out, and that is the biggest thing. Okay, to get out of that relationship safely. I cannot express that enough. Okay, 1 in 7 women will not make it out of that abusive situation. 1 in 7.
It's crazy.
Because yes. Yeah. Because they end up dead. Okay. It's just, and that's a statistic. I abhor that statistic. So my biggest thing is, let me give you tips and tricks. It's not easy. It took me, I was married to this man in 2011. It wasn't until 2018 that I got out. And it takes a long time to get out. I know there's a lot of people that do not understand women of abuse. And they'll just say, well, I don't understand. Why can't you just leave? Well, it's not that easy. If he has control over the finances, what do you do? Okay. That's where some of my strategies come in. Okay. I don't care how you have to do it. You scrimp and save every single penny possible. You see a penny on the street, you pick it up, because what you're doing, and it's not the actual saving of the money, although it is, that's the second thing. What you're doing internally is you are giving yourself hope, giving yourself a reason to live and survive past the abuse. So pick up every single penny. If he gives you $200 to go to the grocery store, $300 nowadays, if he gives you $200 to go to the grocery store, I've done this, okay? I will make sure I go when I know he is not coming back home. I will buy Walmart brand, the store brand name, bring it home and put it in the brand name container, okay? I will take that money that I saved and put that aside. If you have to have, a very close friend, keep that money out of the household, then you do it. Start saving the pennies. Start saving, wherever you possibly can to be able to afford to get out. Mm-hmm. If you feel that you cannot get out safely, then don't. But have a plan, and that's one of the other strategies. Okay, have a plan. I don't care how shitty that plan is. Have a plan.
Yeah.
Okay, because that plan again instills that hope. It instills that drive to be able to say, okay, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, because we can't. When we're in it, in the thick of it, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. You heard my story from the beginning. All I wanted to do was die. There was no light anymore. Okay. So that next morning, that was me. I formed a plan. It was it was awful. I mean, it probably instead of a straight line, it was, wiggles and hills and valleys all over the place, but it gave me hope. Mm-hmm. It gave me direction to be able to say, I'm getting out of this fucking situation one way or another. Safely. Again, we cannot stress that enough. Safely. If you have to go to, if it's that bad, we all know that going to the police sometimes is not it's not as helpful as it should be. Okay, I've heard too many stories. I've been a victim of the police believing somebody else's, and not this relationship, not my ex. Okay, it was a completely different situation that happened in 2022. Okay, in the beginning of 2022, the police actually believed his side of the story, not mine. I was like, whoa, this is good old boy country shit right here. Okay, wow, it still happens. So if you cannot go to the police, fire department, paramedics, okay, go to the hospital, talk to a nurse. Those are the most, go to a priest, a church, anywhere that you can find a somebody that has knowledge, that has help, has resource. Because unfortunately, Mark, sometimes even the governmental resources, they're not very helpful. Okay? I can tell you story after story after story. They try, but they're not very helpful. So get out, okay? And I know it's not that easy, but at least have a plan, okay? Find what works. Talk to friends. Okay, so I say that there are 3 words in the English language that are the hardest words to say. But when you say them out loud, they will make you the strongest person in the room. And they are, I need help.
Yeah.
As women, we don't do that. And especially as women of abuse, we don't do that. So you have to say somewhere, somehow, to someone out loud, I need help. You will be amazed at the amount of support and love, because that's the flip side, that you never know who you're talking to that has been through it and got out and can sympathize and empathize and understand. Girl, I know what you've been through. I know how to help you. Let's go. I know Christine. I know the SASSI coach. I know this woman. I know this woman. I know this woman. I know this woman. We've all been there. I am going to help you however I possibly can. And every woman needs to be able to do that. That is part of one of the programs that I do offer. It's called the 7 Steps of SASSI. The first step 1 is surrender. Okay. And I don't mean how you would normally think. It's an internal surrender, that you surrender. You know what? This was a shitty part of my life. It's over. It's done with. I want to heal from it. I want to grow from it. I want to learn from it. Total surrender. When I did that, doors opened up left and right. Yeah. Okay. And then of course, step 7 is help that next female. Because my mission is to help every single female in the world get her true sassy out. I can't do it alone. So I need women to help. Does that help?
It does help. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's great. Can you talk about that second stage, right? How would you help someone in there to connect to their sassy and to bring that life force back online?
Like I said, a lot of it depends on the individual.
Right.
I had clients that fight me left and right. Okay. And that's where, so one of the first things that I do when I get a client is I will tell her up front, listen, I am sassy. Okay. I am strong, assertive, smart, sexy, and independent, but I'm also sassy. Okay. I will hold your hands, and I tell women, I will not push you. Difference. I will not push you, but I will grab you by the wrist, girl, and I will lift you up. We are walking this together.
Yeah.
But there are times where you're going to be resistant, and I am going to give you that proverbial kick in the ass. Hold you tight, give you a hug, and say, we're going to make it through. Because if I can get through all the shit that I went through, and there are plenty of women out there that have gone through shit way more worse than mine, if we can do it, so can you. You know that woman that I'm talking about. So there's it's a I don't want to say a game, but it's a lot of love. It's a lot of hand holding. It's a lot of listening, but it's also a lot of, we do go back into the past, because there was something, you touched on it earlier, okay, the father figure. Almost every single one of us had some sort of abusive male figure in our lives that brought us to this point. We recognize it, we deal with it, we don't go back, we just kind of stand there, we look at it, we address it, we move on from it, we look forward, and then we move forward again.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. And the way that I'm making sense of what you're saying is that, and again, it's, kudos on you for doing this, but it's like building like a sense of fight or like a sense of desire or liveliness in someone who might have been shut down their whole life, right? From one form or another. And I think like your sassy modality and kind of your personality and that kind of like kick in the ass thing, it's like you're trying to get that engine going, right? You're trying to get like the fight going.
Yes.
And that moment of like choosing life, right? Being like, I want to be alive and I want to give it all I got,
Well, one of the things that I also tell anybody, okay, and I will share it with you and our listeners today, that normally SASSI is all capital letters. SASSI, all caps. Okay. When you reach total unfuckwithable, you are all caps. Okay. But even I have days where some of those letters are not capital.
Yeah.
We all have those days, but that's okay. Once we recognize what each, and that's one of the things that we'll go through in the program, any of the programs is what those letters and those words mean to you. The woman sitting in front of me. Because I don't work for the woman sitting in front of me. I work for that unfuckwithable sassy at the end.
Yeah.
That's who I work.
I love that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there are days where I get up going, I'm tired. I need to sleep good. I toss and turn. I really do not feel like that's my strong sassy, that strong ass. You know what? So that's a little less today. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the letters are all, I feel great. I got dressed, I got showered, I feel good. Yes, I am independent. I live alone. I don't need a man in my life. I don't need this, that, I can do it. But I also know when to being independent also means knowing when to ask for help. And I cannot stress it. So yeah, we're not totally every single day. We're mosaic women. We have all different sides to us. So it's a matter of finding which side you really want to work on.
Yeah, and how to bring that fluidity. We do have to start to wrap up here, but I'm curious.
I know,
if people are listening, how can they find you online if they want to learn more about you and learn more about your program? SASSIcoach.com.
That's the easiest one. There's a button right there, a free full hour session. We get down and dirty, we talk, we have a conversation. Where do you go? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? We have a conversation. That's probably the easiest thing. Okay. And then we decide from there, which way do you want to go? How long do you want to take? How soon do you want to get there? Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google Sassy Coach Christine, and you cannot not find me. It's all over.
That's great. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. If you are in a situation, please reach out to Christine. I think she's a phenomenal resource. It can get you connected. If she can't help you, I'm sure she can find someone who can.
Yes.
So Christine, thanks for joining. I really hope that you touch some people during this podcast and you get to spread the word of Sassy out there.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
Great. And for those listening, tune in next week for another episode of From the Ashes. Take care.
Thank you for joining host Mark Azoulay on From the Ashes. Be sure to tune in again live next Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time and 11 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel, or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Meet triumph and defeat and treat those two imposters the same.